When the Canucks miss the playoffs again.
When Jim Benning trades away all our picks.
When Goldalden is scratched for the third game in a row. C4 is there. With Sedin-like vision, Horvat's work ethic, and Petey's electric personality. Here comes the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast with Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
Powered by Overtime Media.
C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com. Matt Lee with you in studio, joined in the hot box by my awesome co-host, Anna Forsyth. You can find her on Twitter at aforsyth03. Anna, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. You're so much nicer to me when we're actually on air.
I'm doing great, given the circumstances that was the albatross of a game on Sunday afternoon.
Yep, that sucked.
The whole road trip, for the most part, did indeed suck.
Yep.
I don't even know where to begin. We'll get to hockey in a second. Plenty of time to dissect the 4-game road trip that was for the Vancouver Canucks as they return home 1-3 in that stretch. Not here, Chris Golden at Lightforce. You can find him on Twitter. In Toronto. Probably picking up the pieces the Canucks left behind in the center of the universe. Real talk, he's on business.
Yeah, so he's kind of been in and out of town. Those of you who came on Saturday to the tweet up would have seen him. So he did come home briefly, but now back out of town again.
Yeah. Let's talk about the tweet up very quickly, and just building off of what you just said, Anna, a warm thank you to those of you who showed up at Jaegers. We got a very good turnout, I thought.
Yeah, it was a good time.
A couple dozen people. A hopes for future events, I guess, as the ball continues to roll there.
Yeah, I hope people aren't put off by the result of the game, because in general it was a good time.
If anything, the Canucks were even in that game because of the fact we had a tweet up going.
Right.
How else do you explain Brandon Sutter scoring a goal?
Yeah, it was probably us.
I saw a few people that I recognized on Twitter over there as well. First of all, a warm thank you to a friend of the show, Rich F. Who's in Discord as well. He was among the Discord people who showed up.
Yeah, in town from over the mountains.
Yep, from Alberta, and got to know Rich a little bit as well as we watched some of the Canucks-Toronto game, and it was very nice to meet him in person. Very nice to meet anyone, really, that interacts with us on Discord.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see that they're real people, not just avatars.
Yeah, so a warm thank you to Rich, who I got to know, and a great guy, and continued support of the C4 podcast. I saw Jordan Bowman. You can find him at J Bowman Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken.
J Bow Vancouver.
Yeah. So I saw him out there. I think I saw Daryl Keeping out there as well.
Chris Faber.
Yeah, Chris Faber was there as well, friend of the
guest.
show. I saw quite a few attendees there, so nice to see some of those big names coming from Twitter that were at our Canucks tweet up. And again, a thank you to Jaegers in downtown as well for graciously hosting us.
Yeah, but more to come for sure.
And as we get things rolling here on today's show, we will talk about that road trip that was the Vancouver Canucks. The Demko era, if you will, not off to the strongest of starts. We'll talk about his performance during the 4-game road trip. We'll talk about the Canucks' performance as a whole on this road trip. What we're calling the panic meter, the panicometer on the Canucks' playoff hopes.
I don't think it's the second one.
1 not being panicked at all, 10 being I'm absolutely freaking out. We'll talk about that as we get on to the C4 podcast. So lots to talk about here. A lot to dissect as we get things going here on the C4 podcast. All right, where do you want to start? Let's start with the good stuff. That was a great start to the road trip. I remember watching the highlights of that overtime against the Montreal Canadiens a couple times, thinking, wow, the Canucks they looked so good. Toffoli fitting in perfectly. Demko kept the Canucks in it, got them to overtime. You got the win, the 2 points. You couldn't have asked for a better start to that road trip, Anna.
Yeah, I mean, I like an overtime win as a kind of confidence builder for a struggling team. You know, worried how they're going to go without Markstrom, and we're thinking, yeah, we might be okay.
I think Demko made something along the lines of 37 saves in that effort against the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, we didn't like the start that the Canucks got off to, spotting the Habs a 2-goal lead, and we'll get into that for the next game as well. But given those circumstances, the Canucks fought back to force overtime and then win it in overtime, and an overtime where they just dominated from start to finish of it in that 1 minute and 30 seconds of action. Toffoli again fitting in well. We fast forward to the next game against the Ottawa Senators, Anna, and again, a slow start for the Vancouver Canucks out of the gate. I don't know what to make of it. Well, how do you explain the Canucks starting game so slow on this road trip?
I mean, it seems to have been a problem all year, really. Whether they get punished or not, Canucks don't seem to be able to get out the gate. Even in games that they've ended up winning, you just see them they could dominate the opening stretch and not get a goal. They just seem to really struggle with capitalizing early. And yeah, the same was true in Ottawa. I don't know if it's like a mentality thing, a focus thing, but it seems to happen a lot.
Did the Canucks just play down to their opponents a little bit? I mean,
they definitely do.
Going against Ottawa, I read the statistic from Harmdale, Boy Genius, mentioning that going into that game, 18 of the players the Ottawa Senators were using had 1 goal or less this season. 18. Literally about as close to an AHL lineup as you could get. And you couldn't get it done.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before. Ottawa, just like, they're a very weak team, and they got even weaker at the deadline, if that's
trading away Pajot for one.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is the perfect opportunity for a team going through some strife, losing their starting goaltender, but with these games in hand to really capitalize and show them that they can dominate these weak teams, and they just didn't take it at all. They definitely played down to their opponent, and it's so frustrating to watch when you're seeing teams that aren't any good, or even if it's a team that's somewhat decent, but they have an off night and Canucks can't punish them. Right.
And we flash forward to the Saturday game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, Anna. And a better start, though, given the circumstances. I mean, you're taking what was tied, I believe, 2-2 after the first period. No goals in the second period before Martin Marincin scores the game winner just like 15 seconds, 30 seconds into the third period. The Canucks fought back in that game to at least get it to a tie game after 20 minutes of play. So I don't think anyone's questioning the start in this case.
No, but it's just, on paper, maybe losing to 4-2 to the Leafs doesn't look that bad. But, as you said, it wasn't their well beaters, scoring these goals. And the Canucks were just so much better than Toronto for 90% of this game. Right. But couldn't put it away.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to reach into my crazy conspiracy theory sort of bag here. We saw that goal that Austin Matthews scored on Thatcher Demko in that first period. It was a stinker. Probably of all the goals that Demko let in on the entirety of the road trip, that one was a bad one. Short side, bad angle, in and out. Demko even looked towards the bench to see what Travis Green's kind of body language was, to see if he was getting the hook. And I'm not a goalie expert, Anna, but in my estimation, if you're a goaltender and you're looking over at your coach to see what he or she is thinking, it's never a good sign for your confidence.
No, not at all. It's just, it looked bad. Obviously, it's a huge amount of pressure for anyone to face. And I really, really didn't like that goal. And Thatcher Demko is better than that. But I don't want to get too broad here, but really I think this kind of shows what Markstrom's had to put up with this whole season. And you can't be relying on your backup goaltender to save every game.
Right. And how much of this do you think comes down to confidence in Demko versus their confidence in Jacob Markstrom?
As in Demko's own confidence, like his mentality?
No, I'm asking, do you feel that the team has different confidence levels in Demko versus when they're playing in front of Jacob Markstrom?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that's true. You know, you see in interviews all the time, players talking about, Marky saved the game for us, which is definitely true. I'm sure it affects them, but hopefully, if anything, it shows them, no, you can't just depend solely on your goalie to get you out of trouble constantly. Goalies are meant, like, elite goalies are there to steal games for you, but not on a, night in, night out basis. They should be, stealing games for you, like, every once in a while and then providing solid goaltending through it. But, yeah, they can't depend on their goalie to do that now, and I really hope it shakes not just the defense, but the whole team up in terms of defensive responsibility. We saw some, like, really bad lapses yesterday from players who really should know better.
Right. So let's talk more about that. The penalties.
Yeah.
Roussel, Sutter taking very poorly timed penalties in the third period against the Blue Jackets.
Yeah. I mean, in my head, I was thinking, should have won against the Leafs yesterday, but, like, I'll take this win against the Blue Jackets. We've struggled playing against Torts for some reason, but yeah, I think if you compare mentalities of a team like Columbus who were out of it and who were looking completely defeated, even halfway through the third, for them to, like, come back, and as much as, like, I question Torts' like coaching strategies, he really seems to know how to motivate a team. And compare that to veterans of the Canucks who were making dumb decisions, who seemed like they just wanted to go home at the end of this road trip rather than finishing strong.
So here's what I thought about the Columbus game. I thought that Miller and Pettersson said to themselves, we're going to put this team on our back and we're going to spot them a 3-1 lead. And all we got to do to end this road trip, you're not happy with 3 of a possible 8 points, but you're going to take it, given the circumstances. All they had to do is defend that 2-goal lead.
4. 2 wins. 1 draw.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
4 of a possible 8 is even better.
Yeah, like 500, like...
Given that we talked about how basically the Canucks just need to go 500 the rest of the way, 4 out of a possible 8, given that you frittered away the Ottawa and Toronto games, a pretty good scenario.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that, given the circumstances.
To come away with just two of a possible 8 points, and have a 3-1 lead in the third period, midway through the third period, and you can't defend the lead.
Yeah, with Columbus having 1 shot, I think, midway through the third period.
I mean, you know me as much as anyone, Anna. When it comes to this show, I have actually been probably the most positive person on this show this season.
For sure.
But when I saw what I saw against the Blue Jackets in that third period, it was very hard for me to stay positive about this team. The Canucks looked so good for 50 of those 60 minutes. But it's amazing how 10 minutes can change the complete complexion of that game.
Yeah, and again, we can look at goaltending and say Louis Domingue just, like, let a couple of easy ones in. This is true, but considering what the veterans on this team are supposed to be doing and what they did do, it's hard to me to fully blame either him or Demko for the defeats. Yeah, it was just... I'm still angry about it, clearly. I thought I'd calm down after 24 hours, but I haven't.
You know who's most to blame? Is Corey Hirsch.
What did Corey Hirsch do?
So here's the thing with Corey Hirsch. I'm listening to the game midway through the first period, and the Canucks were up 2-0 at that point. And Hirsch goes, Domingue is playing pretty well so far. Boom! There's the Columbus goal. You open the... Corey Hirsch, you know better than this. You don't jinx the guy. I don't know. I'm looking for all kinds of fingers to point the blame at.
The thing is, I'm going to go back one more time and rant about the vets on this team making dumb mistakes. When you look at, it's not fair to blame like Beagle because he wasn't even playing, but someone like Sutter, who we've been told, you know, he might be paid more than we would want for someone of his like age, or, you know, maybe he's not at his peak anymore. But we've been told, you know, you're paying for experience, you're paying for this, like, these players are mentors, they know how to play the game, they know how to be a pro. And for someone like Brandon Sutter and Roussel to, like, make dumb calls like that, for Bo Horvat, who, like, and Tanner Pearson, who've been defensively strong all season, to just, like, have that concentration lapse is just, like, the most frustrating thing to watch.
Yeah. We'll save some more of the rest of season outlook for the next segment, Anna, but going forward, you're still on the Thatcher Demko bandwagon, at least when it comes to him versus Louis Domingue?
Yeah, I still think that Thatcher should be doing the majority of the work, but...
The only reason why I bring it up is because of the fact that the Canucks are kind of in a win-now situation where they may not be able to afford themselves the question of, let's go with the guy who we've had all year. I mean, for me, I'm in the, like, who gives me a chance to win every night mindset.
I think you have to, because they're in quote-unquote crisis stations now.
So, in other words, though, Demko continues to be the goaltender that gives the Canucks the best chance at winning.
I think so. I still think that he should be the one starting the majority of the games, but, you know, it doesn't terrify me to have Louis Domingue in goal.
Right. Take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about playoffs. The panic meter that we have for the Vancouver Canucks. Right here on the C4 podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? Because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So, Anna, I'm not sure which fancy stat projection formula you subscribe to. It depends on what you like more. Are you a sports club stats kind of gal or an athletic kind of gal on your playoff projections?
I guess I tend to go for the athletic.
Right. So Dom Lucian is the one who puts together the model that projects playoff projections. And
is that how you say his name?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Cool.
And the current percentage of the Canucks making the playoffs with his model is 60.4%. Now, if you ask sportsclubstats.com, they would say that the Canucks' percentage of making the playoffs is 82%.
I mean...
Split the difference, 70%?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that seem about right?
What would you say the actual, like, your gut feeling percentage is that the Canucks make the playoffs?
Yeah, like 75% maybe.
I think that's a little high, to be honest.
I know, it's weird because I do feel pretty negatively in general about the team. I was re-listening to last week's episode on the way here, and we were talking about how key that road trip was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still in a wild card spot right now.
But again, like we talked about this, just get another win. Just get 2 more points on that road trip, and my look and take on how we stack up against the rest of the Pacific looks drastically different.
Yeah,
like the grace of God miracle that is the Vegas Golden Knights, for instance, losing to the LA Kings on Sunday night is a miracle in itself.
Right.
Like, the Canucks have been gifted with a little bit of luck on their side when it comes to the scoreboard watching.
Yeah. I know Calgary lost Saturday, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The only saving grace, I think, is that Canucks have some big home games, and they just tend to do better at home. They rise to the occasion more, which, I mean, obviously most teams do better at home, but just the extent to which Canucks seem to fall apart on the road. Obviously, they have a harder travel schedule than most teams. Obviously, they flew a long distance. You know, they had to cross Ontario, Quebec, then go back to Ohio. Wasn't ideal, but just even considering all that, it's still disappointing, the form away from home.
Worth mentioning Sports Club stats saying the Vancouver Canucks would have a 74% chance if they go 8-1 in their remaining 17 games, literally a 500 pace the rest of the way. It's going to take a little bit more than 8-1, though, I think, in my mind.
I think so, too. I think I said last week, I think they have to go over 500 to make it. And the fact that they got, 2 points out of 8 on that road trip is, hugely disappointing.
And to your point about the home ice advantage the Canucks have, it is worth mentioning that 10 of their last 17 games are at home.
Right, and they don't have to travel to the east again. I think, Arizona's the furthest they have to go.
Right, and they're 27-4 at home. So operating under the pace that maybe they, of those 17 home games, they can win 12 of them. All right, sorry, nope. Let me get my math right here. Hang on.
Okay. Do I need to be quiet?
They've got 10 home games left of their 17.
Right.
Let's say that they win 7 of those.
Okay.
Literally all they got to do is win 2 of their 7 games on the road. Is it too much to ask? Can you win 2 on the road?
I don't know.
I don't even know at this point.
Yeah.
I am crunching all kinds of numbers in my head. And you know me, Anna. Math is not my strong suit.
No.
I was
neither
told
mine.
there'd be no math. But
yeah, we're making up charts right now and ticking them off, doing our playoff math.
Right. Let me run you through the remaining opponents that the Canucks have left in their schedule. They've got 3 games against the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh, yeah, you really... I mean, I feel like a stuck record here, but you've got to punish these weak teams. Come on.
Are they a weak team?
Not as weak as Ottawa, but they're not the toughest opponents.
Right. The Coyotes did get Darcy Kemper back into their lineup, so they're probably a little bit stronger than they have previously been. But
they're still middling.
Just starting with the
team.
Arizona games, they probably got to win all 3 of those games. Not just because they're quote-unquote must-wins, but because they are a Pacific Division rival.
Yep.
They got to almost win all 3 of those Arizona games. After that, they've got 2 games left each against the Vegas Golden Knights, Colorado Avalanche, and the Anaheim Ducks.
I know.
In my mind, they got to split at least one of those games with Colorado and the Islanders. They've got to get 1 win out of both of those.
Yeah.
They probably have to get at least both games against the Ducks.
Yeah.
But those Anaheim games are always tricky.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Canucks have had trouble getting up for those Ducks games. So if they can get a split out of all those 3 opponents right there, that's 6 wins in the bag. Then they've got single games against the Islanders, Blue Jackets, Capitals. Chalk up the loss right there.
Lightning. Put that
San
in the
Jose,
L column
LA,
right away.
Tampa Bay, Calgary, and Dallas. In an ideal world, the Canucks win 500% of those, or you know what? They go 500 against those teams.
Otherwise known as 50%.
In my head, it sounds doable.
I know, but doesn't it terrify you that we're just like pinching and trying to find places where we might get a win possible?
At the point in the season where we are trying to find shortcuts.
Yeah,
that
and
would
just
give us
like,
the peace of mind.
Possibly we'll get a win against these guys. Maybe we'll take our point there. Just to make the playoffs. How are we going to do in the playoffs if we can't, we can't go away and put away a side? If we can't keep the discipline, stay out of the box in these tough road games, like, how are we going to do it when there's, like, the playoff pressure, there's a hostile crowd? Yeah. Doesn't that terrify you?
This is the approach I'm taking right now for the Canucks. I am simply in just get in mode.
Like, I see that.
I don't care.
So is Jim.
I don't care what they got to do. Well, I feel like I am in partially because of Jim and the moves that have been made.
Right, that's
and
fair.
The investment that has been made already. But my mindset right now is just get to the playoffs and go from there. Because in an ideal world, Anna, the Canucks will have Brock Besser back in their lineup. They will have Jacob Markstrom back in their lineup. 2 huge additions to your team going into a playoff series, which would be huge.
And those are both very important pieces, especially Markstrom.
So, like, if you can get to the playoffs with a fully healthy, like, knock on wood, a fully healthy lineup, I feel that the Canucks are a coin flip to win any given series.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of series that they have really good chances in. Maybe not a Vegas series, but, I give them a really good chance in a Calgary series and an Edmonton series.
Like, it's a coin. I'll take a coin flip against either of Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah, but almost anyone, like, apart from Vegas.
Speaking of Vegas, do you see Marc-Andre Fleury lost to the Kings last night?
Right.
And part of me wonders if Marc-Andre Fleury is crumbling before our very eyes, just kind of like how he did with the Pittsburgh Penguins when Matt Murray took over. And then you consider Robin Lehner was acquired at the trade deadline by the Knights. I wonder if we're seeing a situation where that scenario is playing all over again for Fleury.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last week too. I think the difference is...
But losing to the Kings is a pretty bad one.
It is. Don't get me wrong, it totally
Not quite
is.
Losing against the Ottawa Senators bad, but it's bad.
Yeah. Was there anyone being inspirational on the LA Kings?
Yeah.
I don't want to be cynical because really good for Bobby Ryan. Very pleased that he's made a comeback.
We're not taking anything away from Bobby Ryan. But Bobby Ryan literally came into the year with, I believe, 1 goal all season.
Yeah,
he quadrupled his output in 1 game.
Yeah, because it's more about his time off that's frustrating rather than what he was off for. Like, good for him. Pleased that he's turned his life around. Wish he could have been inspirational against a different team.
It had to be against the Canucks, of course, right?
They're pretty good at making those storylines for the other team, right?
And it's a big homestand for the Vancouver Canucks coming up. I'll let you sort of pull up the schedule here going forward if you can. Mm-hmm. But, given what we've learned on the road trip, you called out some of the veterans, Sutter, Roussel, both having not so positive games against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Any lineup changes that you would sort of consider making at this point ahead of the Wednesday game against the Coyotes and what we can both agree is a must-win game?
I think we talked about it a little bit in Discord, and I'm not saying it like hugely moves the needle, but I think it's just crazy how Louis is still in this lineup. Given the game that McEwen had last night, like, why is Bailey not getting a game? Given how dominant he's been in Utica, obviously there's a huge gap. We know this, but I don't understand how, like, we're just letting it happen. Louis dropped down the lineup in the last game. Jake Virtanen played really well, I think. He was very close to scoring. And I just the message it sends when you're at this tough point in the season, like, you're asking your team to stand up, to play better for their, like, backup goalie and to really just put on the big boy pants. I don't understand how you can, like, justify continuing to play Louis Eriksson.
So I don't disagree with most of what you've said. Just to play devil's advocate, though, I think I saw this in The Athletic from Thomas Durant. But just to play devil's advocate, I am curious on your thoughts on why Horvat and Pearson looked as bad defensively as they did against the Blue Jackets.
They did. I agree.
And part of me wonders if some of that is because they took Louis Eriksson off that line. Eriksson, who, for all of his warts, is at least a half-decent defensive player who can sort of be that defensive presence on that line. I'm at least thinking it at this point.
Okay, I just don't think that can be the reason.
Virtanen did generate chances on that line, but you can't deny that when Eriksson was thriving on that Horvat-Pearson line, that they were at least a little bit more better defensively.
I will agree that they've been better defensively. I think that has been their strength all season. But the issue is that your second line should still be, a significant contributor to offense. And they should be able to play that two-way game that Bo Horvat has shown time and time again that he can do. And I don't think you should be sacrificing offense for, defensive responsibility, because moving Louis off the line shouldn't make that much difference.
Right, but again, you can't deny also that the Canucks just give up a lot of scoring chances in general, and if having Eriksson on that second line mitigates some of those chances, the Canucks do have to maybe change or tweak the way that they play in front of Demko a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
even if they have to sacrifice some of that fire wagon hockey that we've seen over the course of the year.
It's definitely a wake-up call, because they shouldn't have been playing in front of Markstrom the way they did.
Yeah.
But they did do it. And I think this might have been why Arndt in the Army just brought up the fact that you can talk about bad bounces that both Demko and Domingue kind of experience, but it shows how good of a goaltender Markstrom is, that he would, be able to react to those bad bounces, to those screens, and still make the save a lot of the time. But yeah, no point dwelling on that. They just have to play better in front of him. I don't know if you should be making huge lineup changes, though. I just think they need to be better, don't they?
I got another one. What do you think of the idea of breaking up that third pairing or second pairing, whatever you call it, of Tyler Myers and Oscar Fantenberg?
Oh, yeah. Actually, let's do that. It looked ugly.
I don't have the numbers to back it up, so I'm just going to generalize. But from what I saw during the course of that road trip, it seemed like the Canucks were chasing the puck an awful lot whenever Myers and Fantenberg were out there as a unit. I think Harmdale suggested this a little bit prior to the Columbus game, but maybe you reunite Edler with Myers. You keep the Hughes and Tanev combo intact.
Yeah, you got to keep Hughes and Tanev.
What he essentially suggested was that a Jordy Ben Troy Stetcher combo was the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, honestly, I think he might be right on that. I think Harmon, as usual, is right. Obviously, Tanev and Hughes, you got to keep that. Edler is just, defensively responsible, but also just experienced enough to react. And if needs be a goalie. He'll make that save if he needs to. Just Myers and Vandenberg looks like a hot mess. So I think you just need to go with, that stable. Yeah, you want stable, don't you?
Right.
From every other pairing apart from Tanev and Hughes.
That's exactly what I'm I just want there to be at least 3 solid, reliable pairings out there. We know what we're getting from Hughes and Tanev for the most part. Edler is pretty much safe with whomever he plays with. It's that third pairing that really has alarmed me over the last few weeks. I like Oscar Fantenberg for the value of his contract and what he brings to the lineup. But like we've talked about already, we're in a we need to try and win every game situation. And I think on the surface, maybe you go back to Jordy Bennett and give him a look, because he's been itching for a while.
Yeah, I think he's been unlucky not to squeeze into the lineup recently. And yeah, you just want some like good, solid defense from the other pairings. We know what we're getting with Hughes, and like he is the only one we like really need to depend on for offense at this point. We just need to shore it up.
Right. This was quite the observation in the Columbus game, Anna, but a lot of people talked about how Hughes didn't play much of that third period, partially because the Canucks were on the penalty kill so often in that latter half. What's your take? Should Hughes have just played? Like, do you play your horses? Would you have played Hughes in the penalty kill if that's what it came down to?
I mean, I still think he's a good defenseman, like not just for his offensive prowess. I can understand the logic behind that happening, but I still think he can do a decent job at like just generally stopping pucks going in. So I wouldn't have stapled him to the bench, but I can understand the logic there.
Right. We'll take a break. Oh, actually, real quick. We didn't actually get to your actual panic meter level. 1 being not panicked at all, 10 being completely panicked. Where's your head at this point?
I'm not super panicked. Like a 7? 8? 8.
8 is pretty panicked.
Okay. I didn't think that was that panicked.
I'm at a 7.6.
7.6? Okay.
I was thinking 7.7.
I'm going to say 7.8 then. More panicked than you, but there's still room to grow.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, if we start losing at home, then, you know, we're getting up until 9 territory.
Oh, don't even get me started. If we're here next Monday after this homestand and we're talking about the Canucks going 2 for 4 on their homestand, I will be in full-blownsies 10 panic mode.
Full-blownsies? Not a thing.
Take a break.
They also only have 3 games between now and
it's the home game is 3? Okay. Is it 3 or is it 4 in total?
Coyotes Wednesday.
Yeah. Colorado, I believe, is on the Friday.
Blue Jackets Sunday.
At
and then,
home.
Yeah, we do have one more game, but it won't be until Tuesday.
Okay, got it. Yeah. I see what you're saying. So it is a 4-game homestand.
4-game homestand.
But we'll only be here for 3 of them. We'll record after 3 of them.
We'll record after 3.
Got it. Take a break. Come back. We'll talk about our definitive MVP rankings right now. C4 Podcast, Canucks, hockeyblog.com.
He liked to say the F word.
Oh, then get the here then. Okay, see ya.
Is going to have the F word on it.
I wish I could give you an explanation about it. I can't. You, out of here.
You said the F word, Dad.
You called me the F word.
So, and as we've wrapped things up here on the C4 Podcast, let's have a quick roundtable discussion on your definitive MVP rankings so far. I bring this up just because it's kind of an interesting time, given Jacob Markstrom's injury and stuff. I think we can all agree prior to his injury, we would have had Jacob Markstrom number 1.
And I think it's even clearer now.
Is it still clearer now?
Yeah.
Who would be your number 2?
I still think it's Pedersen. I mean, it's tempting to say Hughes, but we're not talking... Okay, I think the fact that we're putting Markstrom number 1 means that you just have to consider we're not talking about who is the most talented player on the team.
Yeah.
It's who is the most valuable. And I think given what Pedersen has that game-changing ability. And he is like able to retrieve pucks defensively. He's able to create chances in the way he thinks the game. I'm still saying that he is number 2.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. My nominee for the second MVP, if you will, JT Miller.
Okay. Yeah, I can buy that, and I probably say for yesterday, I'd say like recently, I'd pick Miller. If it's like the last 10 games, I picked Miller.
It's not even just the course of the 10 games, though. I honestly feel that while I was one of the people who naysayed the Miller trade in the first place, has there been a player that has changed the culture of this team as much as JT Miller has?
I can get behind the argument. I'm just saying, like, if it's the last 10 games, it's definitely Miller for me. Whereas I think it's a discussion between the two for the whole season. But I think you're right. He's mentoring players. I mean, he's only 26. He's not, like, ancient, but he comes with that experience. He played for a very good Tampa team, and I just love watching him play hockey. I love the way he plays, and he creates chances.
Yeah, and just the way he holds his teammates accountable to be better too. Like, that goes back into what I meant about changing the culture of this team. You see Pettersson working on his one-timer after practice. You see Quinn Hughes digging pucks out of the net after practice and stuff like that. I'm not going to directly attribute it all to JT Miller, but I do believe that there is something to be said about from JT Miller, who has said on the record many times about playing the game the right way. And I think that this is a guy who has learned to play the game the right way and is trying to impart some of that Sedin-like culture onto these players.
Yeah, I agree. I think that all three of those players came in to the team with such huge pressure on their shoulders. JT Miller from the trade value, from the trade deal. Pettersson because of his previous season in Sweden, and Quinn Hughes because, unbelievable to get him at 7 and just the domination he had in Michigan. So, and they've just responded so well. But I do think that Miller has completely the right attitude, and he's imparting that onto others as well.
Quinn Hughes would be my third MVP, ahead of Pettersson, to be honest. Is that hot takey?
No, it's not hot takey. It's just like, I see what you mean. Like, Hughes creates chances out of nothing. He digs himself out of trouble. I just think in terms of he seems like a lovely young man, but he's very quiet. I don't think he's having much effect on team culture. Oh, God,
here we go. You're going to dock him a couple points because he's got Brock Besser's personality, aren't you?
No, there's nothing wrong with being vanilla.
What is it with these good American kids being so quiet these days, eh?
No,
Adam Gaudette also got the personality of paint drying?
No. I think the world would be a better place if more Americans were like Brock Besser and Quinn Hughes and, a little more quiet and reflective.
Right.
But that's by the by.
I don't know. I mean, let's get to Quinn Hughes. I just have him ahead of Pettersson because of just the gaudy numbers he's putting up. Like, the dude, we're not talking about a guy who's breaking Canucks rookie records. If everything breaks right, the remaining 17 games on it, he might break the team record for most points by a defenseman. The team record.
Yeah, I mean, could happen. It's a bit of a long shot at this point.
He could break Pettersson's rookie record.
Yeah, I know.
Like, Pettersson, you had it for a whole year, that record.
You're asking me to, knock on Quinn Hughes, which I really don't want to do. I'm just nitpicking here, but we have to have some reason why we're putting these very talented, great franchise players, above the other one, so.
Yeah. It's clearly a 4-horse race, though, eh? Between Markstrom, Miller, Pettersson, and Hughes.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think it's even close between Markstrom and the next.
Sure. But can we agree that it's those top 4 in their own stratosphere, and then everyone else is a pretty distant second?
Yeah. Are you trying to think of someone?
I'm trying to see if I can find a way to justify any of Horvat or Pearson or Edler, and I can't do it.
I mean, I think Horvat is so important this year. In his first year as captain, he's I know I've yelled at him previously this episode, but in general, he's been so defensively responsible. He's taken on the burden and shown that he can do it. He's a community leader. He's a leader in the room. So I think he's so important this season. Matt is literally rolling his eyes at me. But in terms of the team as a whole and the team on the ice, you can't put him in the same stratosphere.
Right. I will. He's not going to get MVP consideration from me. But I will say that Tanner Pearson has been one of the feel-good stories of the year.
Yeah, I think he's just like the best bargain, isn't he? Like,
to think we got him for Eric Goodbranson.
Yeah, he's just like the opposite of JT Miller in that he's in terms of like fighting a battle against his trade like price.
We're getting kind of off the rails here, but you consider what the Canucks gave up to get JT Miller, what they gave up to get Tanner Pearson, getting Hughes and Pettersson. Even in the short returns of what we gave up to get Tyler Toffoli, like Jim Benning's track record has at least improved.
Has improved, but I do think that we're saying that because he's getting good players, not because of the price he's giving up for them.
I know. But anyway, we could save that for another day.
Yeah, let's yell at Jim a different time.
Anna, as we wrap things up here on the C4 podcast, how about you tell people where they can find us?
So we're on Twitter at the C4 Podcast. We're on Facebook.com at C4 Podcast. My phone has died. Oh, there it is. It's all right.
Do you need me to do
this?
this?
No. Hold, please.
Please hold.
Okay, no, you can do it because my phone is frozen.
Okay, so again, at Twitter, at the C4 Podcast. You can find us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/the C4 Podcast. On the web, c4podcast.com. As well as on Discord, bit.ly/C4 Discord, all caps.
Yeah, I mean, I did know that, but if I gotten it wrong, it would have been bad. So I
Anna.
Yeah, I always like to read it just in case, because we don't want to send people in the wrong direction.
Right.
But yeah, come join us on Discord. That's where you get the chats. That's where you'll find out first about stuff like the tweet up. Like, our patrons knew all about it way before everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's another episode in the books, Anna.
Yeah, I feel like we just both ranted. Do you feel like that was catharsis?
I don't know what that means. English is not my first language.
Using them fancy high school words on you. Do you feel any better for having let that out? Or do you feel just as frustrated?
In some ways, it opens up the wounds again, so to speak. Yeah. But I don't know. I've maintained positive thoughts throughout the course of the season. We just discussed the schedule that the Canucks have left, and there are some winnable games there. It all depends.
Winnable games.
I hate putting this on his shoulders, on a 24-year-old's shoulders, but it almost all rides on Thatcher Demko at this point.
But yeah, I guess my point is still that it shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but here we are.
Be better, Canucks. Be better for your goalies.
Be better for Thatcher.
Yeah.
Hashtag pray for Thatcher.
Yeah, hashtag pray for Marky's knee.
Yeah, I mean, I've maintained my positive thoughts, and I will continue to do so, but I still think that this team, like, the math backs it up, that they will at least make the postseason, and like I said, just go from there. Maybe you get Brock back before the end of the regular season, too, which could also be a boost, so I'm trying to look at it from a glass half full perspective.
Yeah, and I know I've been the more negative of the two of us, but after yesterday, you can understand a bit more how I'm downbeat about this team, but I'm more positive than I was last year. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I just think they're making it really hard work.
Yeah. Doing a little bit of scoreboard watching. Our Preds and Oilers tied at 3 after 40 minutes. That's a game you're hoping doesn't go to overtime either way. Those 3-point games will kill us. Well, anyway, that wraps up. You're here next week? Are you here next week?
Yeah, I believe so. Unless some circumstances.
Coronavirus?
Yeah.
Are you stocked up?
No, old friend of the show, Mama Forsyth, was telling me that she was panic buying in England. She's, like, over there buying up, like, huge amounts of pasta and tin goods. So if the apocalypse comes, everyone wants to head over to my mum's house.
Look, super off the rails moment as we wrap things up here. And I won't keep people long. I went to Costco yesterday on Sunday. And if you've ever been to Costco on a weekend, you know it's going to be busy. It wasn't that much more busy than usual, but
there was a noticeable difference.
Let's put it this way. I was buying things I didn't need to buy.
Yeah. just in
Rice,
case.
get it. Toilet paper, get it. Soap, get it.
Yeah, you don't want to be without soap.
Marinated pork chops, you can leave that behind.
Hand sanitizer, you all stocked up.
Yep. Wipe down the work desk every day now.
This is why it's kind of good being at the front desk. No one's near you.
Spare no precautions. Anyway. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening here on the C4 podcast. Chris Golden should be back by then.
I believe so.
Yeah. So
no one can stand to be in Toronto for that long.
Yeah, tell me about it. We'll see you guys next week.